I don't know. What am I saying? Who are you? What's your name?
I don't know.
What do people
I don't know.
need to know?
Maybe we should go and listen to other podcasts and see how they start. Hello, welcome to Le Pod. It's a brand new podcast we're going to be putting out from down here in the basement of Le Pub twice a month. We're going to be talking to our staff, our community, local bands, local artists, and anyone we think is interesting.
Yes, welcome to episode number... Oh, well, it doesn't have a number. It's the first ever bonus episode of Le Pod. And it's a bonus episode because the two groups of people that we have on today's episode both have things coming out before the next available full Le Pod episode. So we thought we'd smash them all together and chuck out a bonus episode, because why not? You deserve it. Don't say we don't give you anything. So the first people that we talk to are the band Aaronson. They're a post-rock band from, I was going to say from Newport. They're not really. One of them, the drummer's from Newport, the rest from Barry, I think. But they get together under the moniker of Aaronson, and they have a video that's filmed in Le Pub, the first and only thus far band to have played in the post-lockdown Le Pub, and that's in promotion of their new EP that they've just put out, and we chat about that quite a bit. And then we talk to the masterminds behind Art on the Hill as well. It's kind of a self-explanatory title, and it is how it sounds. It's the ladies behind it. They get together to take over the hill area of central Newport to display art in all its forms, in any venue that you can think of, from official kind of music and art venues all the way down to inside and outside people's homes. So just for that weekend, and it's taking place on the 27th, 28th and 29th of November this year. There will just be art all over Newport, and that is Art on the Hill. They explain it quite a bit better than that, obviously, in the episode, but it's a fascinating chat. And we talk about all sorts, including...
As soon as, like, the whole stage floor is nothing but pedals, and we have to do this weird elaborate dance routine to, like, get the songs out.
When you go to see a live show, it touches, like, other senses. You know what I mean? It's like all the senses then, and that's what moves you the most.
The exception, of course, being the new Taylor Swift album. It's the fucking best thing I've ever heard in my life, honestly.
A lot of people in the arts are facing a situation where they still may not be able to return to their livelihoods for a really long time to come.
Don't want to take up too much more time with preamble, because we have two separate chats in this episode, but I just wanted to mention that due to the unfortunate reoccurrence of lockdown, this firebreak lockdown, I'm glad they gave this one a title just so we can separate which lockdown people are talking about. We missed Halloween in the pub, unfortunately, which is, as you all know, a travesty, one of our favourite times of the year. So we're just moving Halloween. We're having Halloween when we reopen on Friday the 13th of November, an apt date, we thought, for Le Pub's Spook Fest. So get down to Le Pub on Friday the 13th of November and it'll be class. Other than that, please subscribe if you like it, that is. I'm not forcing you. Don't subscribe if you don't like it, but I hope you do. And if you've got any spare change, head over to ko-fi.com, that's spelled ko-fi.com/repod, and you can give us a tip. Nice one. Enjoy the episode. So, Aaronson, you guys are Aaronson.
Yes.
Introduce who we've got on the episode. Go one by one.
Who goes first? I'll go first. Right,
So,
I'm
it's always
Morgan.
that awkward part.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm Morgan. I'm originally from Newport. I'm the drummer for Aaronson. Newest member of the band. Yeah, it's been a blast so far. Logistically, it's been interesting because being two counties apart, we can't really do anything considering the current situation. But yeah, that's me.
Sick.
I think Mark should go next. I think you should say hello. I'm Tom. I play guitar, but I think Mark should then sort of, give us the potted history.
Yeah.
Unless you want to get to that further on.
I was trying my best to be like quietish because every time we do an interview and I listen back, it's mostly me chatting. So I try my best to be polite. But yeah, I'm Mark Crease, and I'm the other guitarist in Aaronson. So it's me and Tom and our eternal struggle for more gear and more guitars and stuff, just to try and outdo each other, really. But yeah, that's us.
Welcome. So 2 guitars, no bass. I didn't even know.
Well, yeah, I sort of like Mark says, it's a constant. We're always looking to basically make a bigger try and make as big a sound as possible. And it's like we've played with like bass players and other guys before, and it's just like it is just us at the moment. So what we decided to sort of do was like trying to use as much gear as possible to make a bigger sound. So like I take a looping stuff and making washy, messy noises. So it's kind of really like fun in that. But yeah, no, it's just with 3 of us with 2 guitars. Yeah, we might, we never ruled out getting more people with more gear, but they must have lots of gear. That's the one stipulation of joining Aaronson.
Requirement.
Yeah.
Aaronson. Well, I didn't even know that there was no bass player, so you've done a decent job.
Yeah, we make a lot of noise for three people. There's like, I don't know, 4 amps, so 2 each for me and Tom, and then obviously Morgan hits them drums super hard. So I don't think many people leave a gig going, "Oh, that was a bit quiet."
That was a bit lacking.
We've had like I've had so many of like my musical friends kind of listen to the EP and like, listen to the live video that we put on YouTube and just be like, "Have you guys got a bassist?"
Yeah.
And it's just like that wizardry that Tom has figured out, like in terms of pedals and like making everything sound right. But looking at like Coxey's pedal board and then Crease's pedal board, I kind of want to get a pedal board for the drums, but that's just like,
feeling left out.
Yeah, just to fit in. Like, I want to put some wild delay on my snare for some reason. Which would sound
delay for a snare, you would put it through a bit crusher and then a delay, and it sounds wicked. Especially if it's like because we play to a click, so we got like Ableton running along in the background, keeping on top of everything and doing all our monitoring. But like, if you got that in time with the beat, with the delay, like bit push delay afterwards, it sounds so good. I was playing around with it before. It's just like, yeah, there's definitely mileage for resampling your drum kit. I'm fully behind that because it involves more gear, which is like the core principle of the band.
Yeah,
it's all the gear, very, very small amount of idea. So
as soon as like the whole stage floor is nothing but pedals, and we have to do this weird elaborate dance routine to like get the songs out.
Takes us an hour and a half to set up for a half an hour set.
Yeah, we show up and the sound guy wants to just like end everything because he hates us so much. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Sick. So where did the name Aaronson come from? Is it Aaronson? Aaronson? How did you pronounce it, Morg? Am I pronouncing it wrong?
No, it's Aaronson. So yeah.
Where did that come from?
It's from 1984, George Orwell, and it's one of the really sort of minor characters that's kind of been through the whole story that Winston Smith's about to go through, and they're sat outside I think it's the Chestnut Tree Cafe, and there's Aaronson, Smith, and Rutherford, and yeah, they're like sort of martyrs of the sort of they were made examples of, weren't they?
Right.
The three sort of original sort of party not party members. I can't remember now. It's been a while since I read it, but yeah, no, it was Mark and one of our previous band members had a bit of a theme going on, which was really cool. When I first joined, we had another bass / keys player and another drummer, and that was kind of like, it was a different sound and it was a different time. But yeah, we've sort of grown into this big wishy-washy broad strokes mess now. So
right, so your new EP or your most recent EP, the You Are Not a Stranger Here, is that the first recorded work that this lineup has done, the U3?
Yeah, that's right. So we kind of had a lot of the ideas kicking around anyway. But yeah, like our drummer history is like Spinal Tap. So like, they're all still alive. But
yeah, I was going to reiterate, we haven't no one's been killed.
No one's exploded yet.
No freak driving accidents.
So we've been through quite a lot. So yeah, we had the ideas kicking around, and we were really keen to add a drummer. yeah, we sort of met up, and then that was it. It sort of all clicked, and yeah, we recorded the EP.
Basically, we got pretty lucky because Gavin, who's one of our friends that plays for a band called Fort, Matt, the drummer from Amy Grindhouse, it's his now post-rock band.
Okay.
I was friends with those guys, one through Matt because he used to be in the pub and part of that crew. And then I started hanging out with them at Arctangent, which is one of the festivals that we go to. And then out of the blue one day, I get a message from Gav saying a couple of my friends are after a drummer, they're playing post-rock. Like, I thought I'd send you their way if that's cool with you. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So we did. And then we met up in Tiny Rebel in Cardiff for a pint. I remember, like, Tom was wearing... Both of you were straight from work.
Come from work, yeah.
Yeah, both of you came straight from work. So it was like, I was just there in like a t-shirt and just whatever, and you guys both had like shirts and ties, and I was like, have I come to like the wrong meeting or something?
No, it was a full interview situation.
Yeah, it was.
Just sat there in Tiny Rebel, like going, tell me about your recent band experience.
Yeah. Who's this guy? Yeah. But anyway, so
I don't think much of his suits.
And we just had a chat and you know, shot it over a couple of beers, and then that was that. I had a jam, and
it was really, I guess, like, you know, obviously Mark mentioned that we played with quite a few people over the last sort of, what was it, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah.
Basically, since I've joined, there must be something about me that's instantly dislikable, because since I joined, it was Mark and 2 other guys playing, and it was kind of like they had like more of a post-punk, so it was a bit more sort of up tempo, a really sort of like, you know, snappy, sort of like minimalist, you know, vibe going on. And they were like, you know, they're really like a fun band, really tight. And it was like, I became friends with Creasy. He was like, you should get involved. We're looking for another guitar player to sort of like, you know, add another layer of interest. And I was like, yeah, of course. I've been sort of meaning to get back into it for a couple of years, and it was really fun. But then, like, you know, with things with the drummer sort of didn't work out, and then with Dan, our other bass / synth player, he decided to sort of do his own thing as well. So it was just like, at the end of the day, it was just me and Mark just stood looking at each other with all this gear, going, what now? And it was, we all had sort of loads of ideas of songs and things like that. And it was just like, oh, it just seems a shame. So we sort of like started playing and sort of like put a couple of ads out, sent a couple of messages, got a couple of feelers. And yeah, like I say, it's sort of like evolved. I think because of like obviously our musical preferences and things like that, it sort of evolved from instrumental sort of post-punk into more of this sort of like I say, I always think of it as like it's broader strokes sort of thing. You know, there's the sounds sort of more like dispersed, and there's, you know, rather than just like playing a fifth chord, it's like a fifth chord with a wash of delay and reverb under and over it. So it's just like it's trying to sort of take all the like the transients out of it and make it a bit more of a sort of a like a washy sort of thing. So it's like a soundscape sort of, you know. But yeah, I don't want to go into like obviously every drummer we've tried since then, and every sort of
leave it there, man.
Every sort of other you know, ups and downs in the way, because every band has them, and it's all good fun. But we were obviously like, we met Morgan then through our friends in Fort, and it was just so like easy straight away. And I think coming from, you know, as soon as we, you know, once we found the right person, he was like, I want to play post rock. You guys play post rock? It was just easy. And like obviously Morgan's like the nicest guy in the world, super easy to get on with as well. So it's just like, well, it's just a no-brainer. So as soon as we got into a practice room, it was just like it came together so quickly. We're just really, really pleased. And it's been, where are we now? Are we at a year yet?
It's got to be.
Yeah, we're nearly at a year, I think. Yeah, it was November, I think. I messaged you on Facebook. I'm really ever on Facebook, but I made an exception for you, mate. I messaged you, and yeah, I was like, apparently you play drums and come and meet us and stuff. But yeah, it's like a cliche, and I hate it when bands say like the new album is the best music we've ever done and all that. But I think it's true in our case that we finally like got it nailed now. We've been working on the sound for a while, and I think the three of us, this is the best we've ever been. And yeah, Morgan's a big part of that. So
I would say it's like, it's, you know, I was playing some of our stuff to a guy that I was in a band sort of at uni sort of time with, and obviously I'm 1/3 of this band, and I was 1/3 of that band as well. So that's like sort of my sort of sort of sound, my sort of like you say, there's sort of like three elements to this, so it's obviously going to sound different to the three elements that were before. But he was obviously able to pick out, oh, this bit sounds like this bit from one of our old songs. So I was like, that's because it's me, isn't it? So it's just like, yeah. So, like I say, it's just like the three of us we're never going to make the same music that you were making with the guys before, Mark. And I think, it's obviously completely personal preference of, you put three guys in the room with instruments, this is what comes out. And we're obviously chuffed to bits with what does come out. So
the instruments are extensions of you guys, I guess, especially in an instrumental band like you guys are. That's how you express any meanings behind songs and how you kind of display what you are as a band. It's interesting. Go on.
I feel there's more like emotional involvement in instrumental music personally, because it can be whatever you think can be. You know what I mean? It's like with lyrics, it's obviously that it gives it like either a time and a place or like some sort of context.
Right.
But without that, it's it can be so emotive, just like because you hear like a phrase or something like that, and it will remind you of something that's personal to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, for me, it's so much more expressive and so much more, like I say, emotive.
Yeah.
Personally, for me as well, like, I mean, my origins in music were purely classical. So my first instrument was trumpet, and I played that for years, and I got up to a high grade standard in that, and then just fell into playing drums, which I did fall in love with. I kind of like, I didn't find trumpet by myself. It was kind of like my mum is a concert pianist, or was a concert pianist.
Right.
So music's always been in our family, but I think my mum was just keen for me to like learn an instrument, which I was as well. And trumpet just came along. We just took it and we ran with that. But then drums was with the one instrument that like fell into my lap, and I fell in love with it. So it was really good fun. But going back,
so what you're saying is, if we wanted to get into playing ska punk, that we probably could. It would be a bit of a departure.
I have at one time I played drums and trumpet at the same time. So I played offbeats. I played offbeats with my left hand and snare. So like the classic ska punk, like that thing.
Nice.
And then with my right hand, I was holding my trumpet and playing the trumpet and doing the beat at the same time. But yeah, like going back to what you guys were saying about the whole like instrumental thing, like I think it's basically taken me about 10 years to kind of like get back to instrumental playing, because I was so used to playing in like big bands and jazz bands and like orchestras and like wind bands and symphonics and stuff like that, where there are no vocals, and it's all of the music comes through the dynamics and like how it's played and like feel of everything. It's just way more what I was after. Like as you know, I play drums for Jack Perrott, I play drums for Dan Burridge, I play drums for Joe Kelly on occasion. They're all really good fun. They're definitely like fun projects to be part of. This is like my bread and butter at the core of it, I suppose. And it's been an absolute like blast and welcoming to like kind of get back to it. So
we all like each other. This is lush.
So sweet.
expecting a podcast.
I think the best podcasts can be the bands that don't like each other.
Yeah, I know. This is probably really
This is going to be a bit like, this is like, we're just all there going, like, we haven't really spoken properly the last couple of weeks, bar via the WhatsApp. And it's just like, that'll be good.
I'm going to have to instigate some conflict between you.
Stoke the fires, mate. Stoke the fires. Yeah. He said what?
I wanted to ask about the messages the message behind the songs on the new EP, because you put out on your Instagram I don't know what you call it, a manifesto maybe, or a message to go with them. I'll read it quickly, it doesn't take long. It says, "We are a species, we are part of a system. We need to be connected to and connect with that around us. It's easy to lose sight of this. Go into the wild, leave all trace of structure and material being, just be. Look, hear, smell, taste. It's where we came from. The woods know you and you them. You belong. You are not a stranger here." So did that message and that manifesto come before the music, or did you write the music first and then that's what came to you as you were playing it, or what? How did that come about?
So we had, as we said, like instrumental music can be whatever, like you want it to be about. So we obviously had like a lot of music written and a lot of music that we've been sort of playing around with, but it's sort of like being instrumental music. There was nothing to anchor it to any sort of, and we wanted to put out like an EP with sort of, a coherent idea at the very least. Now, we had a couple of samples from a guy called Alan Watts, who the You Are Not a Stranger Here comes from, and the whole concept is reconnecting with nature and our environment. And we were putting this together probably in about March, April time. So this is, peak proper lockdown now.
Yeah.
And we were sort of like just putting the finishing touches together and the artwork and the sort of, the bits and pieces to go with it. And, I personally was spending a lot of time walking the dog up and down the woods and outside, and it was just like being able to get out and like I say, it was so quiet and it was so peaceful, being able to get away from the laptop screen and get away from work and things like that, and just completely be surrounded by greenness and bird song and things like that. And it's just like, it's so refreshing and so like recharging, and it was sort of a real sort of note of inspiration for me personally at that time. But like I say, it can be however you interpret it, but we felt that like putting out an EP, it's good to have some sort of a little bit of a theme, a little bit of something to sort of get behind and give it a bit of sort of imagery, a bit of connotations. And we obviously saw the artwork. She's actually a family friend of mine who produced the artwork, and it's obviously it fitted so well. It was just like, it's got to be that, and it's just obviously like in the depth of the woods, and there's all these vibrant colours with the broad brush strokes, and it just sort of, we just felt it really like fit us. And yeah, it's the manifesto, I think is a good word for it actually, but is sort of paraphrasing Alan Watts, who is one of the, I think he disappeared to live in the woods for 10 years at a time or something like that. So right, he would know. But yeah, it's sort of, I think that part, that the You Are Not a Stranger Here comes from reconnecting with nature and how we as human beings are trying to win the battle, but ultimately will fail and things like that. And it's just about basically reconnecting with nature and just sort of appreciating that you're part of a larger system of an ecosystem rather than trying to control it and things like that. It's really interesting, and he's got loads and loads of works and stuff like that online. But yeah, it's just for me personally, and I think the guys would probably agree that it was sort of at that time quite a sort of interesting and poignant thing to sort of get behind and message to send out, really. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, it was just like, you can't go anywhere except leave the house for an hour. And I live around the corner from Tom, so we've both got the same parks and the sea and everything to go to, and just going out and be able to like Tom says, reconnect with nature and just be like, this is really basic living, but it's better than being on a computer and being on the internet. And
a big part of that inspiration for me as well. My wife works for the Woodland Trust, doing a lot of work, sort of foresting and that sort of stuff. So we've got a lot of that sort of literature in the house. So it's great, and it's like I say, it's been really grounding, and it's good to get sort of back, and everyone will benefit from it, whether they realise it or not, of getting out and just leaving your phone at home, forgetting about all the mold and the rigmarole of modern day, got to be there at this time and do this and that, and just walk and just appreciate the world around us. And it's like, it's immensely recharging, and it's like really de-stressing, and it's just really invigorating.
As there are no lyrics to the songs as well, they're just instrumentals, do you feel these things and have these thoughts when you're performing the songs, or are you kind of just in the moment of playing your instruments?
I think for me, it's a cop-out answer. There's a bit of both, because every song builds to something, that kind of classic post-rock crescendo. So I love playing it to kind of get to crescendo, but I do find it pretty, quite reflective as well. And I do think when I'm playing of, that kind of manifesto, definitely. When I'm not like panicking that I'm going to press the wrong effects pedal, because as we've established already, many effects. So it's a combination of trying to remember to do that as well.
Yeah, I think I'll go along with what Mark said there. It's obviously once you put some sort of context behind a piece of music, like once we had all those ideas and we worked out what we wanted them to mean. Obviously, they're still like massively open to interpretation. We think we've left it sort of a little bit open. But once obviously we've given it some sort of context, that's the pictures in my head that it paints now. And like as I get that sort of like, and I made the mistake of listening to when we were getting it mastered, listening to a couple of the masters like out walking and things like that, and now it's kind of stuck. So right. It definitely it's like I say, it's the broad strokes. It's the sort of that sort of like you get sort of lost in the the detail of the sound because there's no vocals to focus on, because there's no sort of like it's not like a pop song that's engineered to be sort of at a certain frequency to catch your attention and things like that. So you sort of like you can go into it, and you can the idea is you can sort of lose yourself in it a little bit, like you can in the nature wilderness. Sort of thing. There's sort of like a nice parallel there. So it's for me it's like that anyway. Like I say, so.
Right.
I think
go on.
For me, like I mean, playing drums is always one of those positions where I think a lot of people from the outside looking in just look at it as like you just hit stuff. But like I feel that it's probably the most emotive instrument that I've had experience playing, and I play several, so it comes through with how I play them. I suppose it's just my interpretation, but I think with instrumental stuff especially, you can really play to that strength with the drums, because you can, there's an invariable amount that how hard you can hit something. Obviously there are drummers that just absolutely wail on stuff, and that's all they do, and it's great. And it works for them because that's just what they want to play. But then there's also drummers that like try and fit the mood of that element in the song, and being able to kind of like riff on that, like every single time we play. Like I don't think I ever play like the exact same thing twice, because it kind of comes from how I'm feeling on the day, and like how I react to that song, and like how it's playing out in my own head. And that's why I love playing music in general, to be honest. It's just because it is, like you said earlier, like an extension of you. And you can't not that you can't, but in my opinion, you shouldn't like force yourself and like pigeonhole yourself into like the exact same feeling every single time you play a song. Like you should play that song how you want to play that song in the moment. And sitting behind the kit and like being able to emote through that is really interesting. Like to me, I'm really thinking about it constantly, but I'm sure to like the vast majority of people, it probably just sounds like noise, as it always does. But I mean, that's why I love post-rock. I think it's just one of those genres that like, it's like the modern day classical, in my opinion. Like right. You can really like dig into like the meaning behind how the music's written and how it's played.
Interesting.
And like Coxie said, with the whole like, these days, a lot of the stuff in the charts, which I've got nothing against either. I do love a bit of pop, but like it is seemingly quite like engineered, and there's like an algorithm that you hit, and that you've got to hit, and all this kind of stuff. There's not a lot of like feeling in it.
It's calculated.
Exactly.
The exception, of course, being the new Taylor Swift.
You will never shut up about that album. But to be fair,
it's the fucking best thing I've ever heard in my life. Man, you don't. Come on, you know it's good. Don't be.
I'm pushing for a cover. I want to do a cover of one of his songs, but just post rock.
No post-rock instrumental Taylor Swift cover.
Yeah.
It's good. There's a couple on there, like because it's produced by what's his fucking name? The guy from the National.
Aaron Dresner.
Is it?
I can't remember what it is.
Beringer or whatever his name is.
It's a German name, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't know when I hear it.
Yeah, I think Beringer is the singer.
Yeah. So not him.
I don't think it's the guitarist that's done it.
Okay,
so
okay.
I think it's Aaron Dresner, but like anyone listening to this, don't come looking if I'm wrong.
But yeah, it's got that sort of, it's got his fingerprints all over it. It sounds, there are bits of it has got that kind of like, it's kind of like ambient, and it's kind of like just got that sort of really sort of like lo-fi stripped back sort of thing, and it would lend itself well. There is some like little like, you know, is sort of one or two parts to it. There's a song with like one or two parts to it, and you could easily just sort of take those and sort of like spread them out. And you know, I'm fully behind a Taylor Swift cover. I think it was. I haven't
listened to it purely just because of the name attached to it, which is my loss by the sounds of it.
I mean, if you're coming at it from a sort of a complete, you know, are you team Kardashian then? Is that what this is all about?
Team Kardashian. I didn't know that was the opposing team.
Who is it? Who was the opposing team? Who's anti Taylor Swift?
No, sure, I would have thought they were on the same team, Kardashian and Swift, but.
Well,
Ben,
Kanye West.
No, because she had the big spat with Kanye, didn't she?
Oh,
so
this is an actual thing. I thought we were just messing around. This is all news to me.
No, man.
Yeah, so her last album, I don't know how I know this either. Her last album was like a whole...
Because you love it too, Mark. Stop being coy.
It was a response to what?
It was a whole response to being called out by Kanye and Kim in the press, and the press being down on her, and this whole divide between the two factions.
Why are we talking about Taylor Swift album?
I had no idea. Well, I'm intrigued by it. I don't know about
it. The story's good, but
ask us another post-rock question.
Ask us another post-rock question. We'll answer it with Taylor Swift.
Veiled Taylor Swift references. I was going to ask. You said, Morg, when you were answering the last question, that you don't think you've played the same song, the song the same twice. Is that kind of...
Oh, it's a nightmare for the rest of it.
But is that like a feature of instrumental music? Do you think not being like bogged down by the traditional kind of verse chorus structure, does that allow you to do that, do you think? Or
I think like ultimately with us, like the way that we've kind of written and how we play, like it's kind of more like movements.
Right.
So in terms of like classical music, I mean, there's like the planets suite, which is like probably the one that everybody knows the most, but they're all written in movements. So there's obviously each planet going through the series, but like every single one has its own kind of vibe. And I think with post rock, that is kind of carried over. But I think a lot of the guys that play post rock, I mean, you can look at any of the kind of big hitters in post rock, whether it's like Caspian or, you know, Explosions in the Sky or anybody like that. There are songs which like clearly have been written in terms of like just trying to get an audience in who are more accustomed to that traditional verse chorus, verse bridge chorus kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But then likely, aside from that, like the vast majority of their music it just kind of goes. And like it is a journey in itself, I suppose. Like Caspian's newest album, I pretty much haven't stopped listening to it since it was released, to be honest. And every single time I listen to it, I notice something new. And it's just like, that's what I get from listening to classical music as well and playing classical music in the past. But I think the like, I learned that lesson the most was when I was playing with like big bands and stuff.
Right.
Because like big bands, you just kind of, you've got a blueprint and the rough outline of like how the track should go. And then as far as like, you know, our conductor at the time, Paul Hornsby, who is an absolute legend, and he's just a great guy, like put it into context how you would conduct a song. So normally you've got your conductor at the front of the band and they're there the whole time, keeping tempo and whatever. Paul would give us one bar in and then just walk off. Like he just let us play the music. Like he would just let us play the tune. So we'd have the charts, we'd have the sheets in front of us.
Yeah.
And we play it to that kind of like, you know, spec. But as soon as the solo came up and we knew where they were, like that solo could just go on for as long as that person wanted to solo.
That's pretty cool.
It was pretty rad. And it was like, you know, that was a real eye opener for me in terms of music, was just kind of like, oh, I don't have to like conform to the the black lines on this piece of paper and do exactly what it says. And like, I'm not a slave to what's written in front of me, and I'm not a slave to just kind of like what we said earlier about like pop music and like it just being a verse, chorus, verse, bridge kind of world.
Yeah.
It's just, go on.
Within the movements that you were saying, as you build towards the crescendo that Mark was talking about earlier, do you kind of leave room for improvisation, or are you kind of, like you say, go into a script or whatever?
Somewhat. I mean, especially with drums, it's kind of like you can get away with it more, I think, with drums, because I think with when you've written a song, when you've written a melody, it's much harder to like go against that when you're playing it live, because people are kind of expecting to hear that melody. Yeah. But from a rhythmic perspective, like if you're playing in time, as long as you're in time, I don't think anyone's really going to call you out unless then they themselves are a musician or a rhythmic person.
Mm-hmm.
They might come up to you after the set, and a couple of people have to me and said like, "Oh, you played that a little bit differently," but we enjoyed it. You can pretty much get away with a lot of stuff as long as you hit the beats in the song and you know where the builds are and the crescendos are, and
as long as you're all together.
Yeah, it is very important that you kind of get you're on each other's wavelengths, especially with instrumental music, because if you didn't have that, it's infinitely more difficult to kind of get that across. And that's something that can only get better with time. And if we're kind of like there now, we've got this kind of like level-headed approach, and like we understand how each of us play, it can only get better, in my opinion, which will mean like we can literally hear things. I've had this in the past, like Ben, you play stuff, right? You play music.
Yeah, I'm a guitarist.
Yeah. So you know what it's like when you've got those like one or two friends that you can just jam with and you just stop at the same time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It doesn't even matter how long you've known those people sometimes. Like you can play with a person for the first time and you just click. Yeah,
exactly. 100%. And that is, in my opinion, like that kind of like magic dust in music, where if you've got that, like, couple of friends who you can just play music with and you don't even have to look at them. You don't even have to like necessarily be in the same room. You can just play and you know exactly what they're going to do. If they're going to stop, you're going to stop. If there's going to be a build, there's going to be a build, and it's unexplainable. I've never been able to put my finger on it, but like, I feel,
you're right.
Yeah, it is true. And I think we've got that, like, from just playing with the guys for a year. Granted, it's not been the most fortunate year in terms of...
It's been literally the worst fucking year.
It's been terrible. I'll put it in perspective now.
Yeah.
So we have played 2 gigs. Like we've played 2 shows, both of which were part of this like big gig competition in Cardiff.
Yeah.
So the first ever show that we played live as a band was the semi-finals of this big gig event. We then qualified for the final, which then turned into be our second gig ever. And then we came runners up. We came second in that whole competition, which had like a fair amount of like, really, really good bands from the South Wales scene. And it was a really good mix of genres, and we were very thankful to be a part of it. And
the judging of that was good as well. As like Beth and Elvin from BBC, and Charlie Francis, who's done REM records, and Adam Whitmore, who's manager of a few bands and gig promoter and stuff. Some really cool people from the scene. And literally we've done those 2, and then we played at the pub to no one last month.
We've all been there.
Recorded that. And recorded that performance. That was just a bit mad, really. That I think we'll count that as a gig.
We were saying about like Morgan being with us for a year. We've been locked down for 7 months of that now.
Yeah. Which is wild. But
we've been I think we've been pretty productive. Like, we obviously put out You're Not a Stranger here. We've written probably, I'd say 75% of the EP that we want to put out next year. So, trying to make the most of the tools available to us, which, you know, obviously we've got web video conferencing and, you know, almost like web doors now, which is like, they don't work as well as like the real ones, but I give you an idea. So it's like, you know, we're trying to put stuff together. But it would be great. Great to play more shows, I got to say.
Yeah, it's the shows I'm missing as well.
For sure, absolutely.
We're going to release the Le Pub performance as well. That's going to come out in a week or two. So
I wanted to talk about that because, you know, you guys are still the only band that have played Le Pub since lockdown, the initial lockdown in March. Yeah. So you'll have that accolade forever.
Pretty wild.
How was it filming that video?
It was really good fun, and we're like incredibly thankful to Sam and Matt and the guys who sort of helped us out while we were there, because like it was just like there's nothing like you know, there was no one there apart from the Matt and the guys who were filming, which is, you know, it's pretty standard at a show for us. There's not many more people there when we have playgrounds. It was just great, and it's like it was sort of like, you know, that sort of feeling of loading up into a pub in the day was just like, this is really good fun. It's a bit of a buzz, you know. But yeah, we're incredibly thankful to all guys who helped us and made that possible. But it was still really fucking strange, wasn't it? So
it was just awesome because, you know, we thinking about sort of delaying putting the EP out to start with, because we were like, is it the right thing to do? Because it came out in May, which obviously was like peak lockdown and stuff. Yeah. So we were thinking we'd wait, because obviously no one's playing shows, no one's getting, you know, income from venues and stuff, and we're sort of really mindful of not wanting to be like, hey, this is our music and stuff. But actually, the reaction to that was really good from people, and they were like, well, actually, I'm just at home and I could really do with listening to something.
Exactly.
So
yeah, people still need it, like especially when there's no shows. Like they still need these creative outlets and just things to get them through the day, even.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was like brilliant for us that people felt that way, and, you know, we're obviously keen to share it. So we did that, and then we were like, well, you know, towards the end of the year we'll definitely do an EP launch show and everything. And then it became, you know, apparent really soon on that wasn't likely to happen, and that's where this idea came from of, well, we obviously can't play in front of anyone, but if there's a venue that will have us and we can play the EP in full, you know, in order, and sort of document it, and then we can share it sort of 6 months or so after the EP was released originally. That would be really cool. And yeah, Sam from the Pub got in touch really to our social media post and was like, you're welcome to come here. And we were like, really? And they were like, yeah, awesome. And Matt Dad recorded it all for us, which is incredible. And then, yeah, two friends came and filmed it. So we've kind of done it on a shoestring budget. But the other two lads on the call have sort of seen the fruits of our labour, like today. I've seen the final edit of the video. And we're like, I think we're pretty chuffed with what we achieved, like really.
We're so pleased. I'm so pleased with it. Like, it's just
pretty rad.
I've heard some of the audio from Matt Dab, and it sounds great. So yeah, if the video lines up with it, I'll be I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Like the thing
that's
really
been half the issue. Trying to line up the audio with
for sure. The thing that like it genuinely blew my mind was just like, obviously we had the idea to do something like this, do like a live stream, if you will, or however you want to call it. But like we posted on our social feeds, and then I filtered it through to my own Facebook, and pretty much instantly I had at least 4 or 5 people get in touch to offer their assistance with it, and that really took me aback. Obviously, Matt sent me a message, and Sam commented on the post, and said that we could do it in the pub, which I immediately jumped at, because as we've said, like being a long time fan, and
you've got that connection.
It was just like a no-brainer for me, and like I instantly had this image in my head of like how it was going to go down and how it could go down, which is basically what me and Mark was saying earlier. It eventually, like, that's how it came out in my head, and what the overall outcome is basically that, which is rad. And yeah, it was just like, Matt was chafing at the bit to like get back on the deck and like record some stuff.
Yeah,
and he bought like a new set of drum mics before lockdown, and obviously haven't been able to use them. So
oh man, me and that were messaging over lockdown about those new drum mics. He bought a bunch of new gear, and it was all just sitting there in boxes. It was the most tantalizing, just traumatic thing ever.
Yeah. But the funny thing is as well, because I know that Matt bought like a new Pearl Export kit as well, like their beach kit, and he said like, you can use this one if you want. And immediately I was like, no, I want the other kit. I want the kit that I've played for years, and I want the kit that has like gone through every possible war it could possibly go through. There's something about that kit, man. Like I absolutely love playing it. And you know, I've played it with 4 different bands, and I've seen it played on. I've seen people jump on it and it's still in one piece, which is amazing. Like Ben, I'm sure you've seen people do some wild stuff with that drum kit. I've seen people throw the toms. I've seen people throw the kick.
It's been through the ringer, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, I've tuned that kit God knows how many times. I helped Matt like reskin it God knows how many times, and it still sounded perfect. Like, look, you know, listening to the audio, and you know, props to the new mics as well. They sound brilliant. But the kit itself is just fantastic. And I kind of wanted to use the new one, but I also felt like it wouldn't have been right, like being the first live Le Pub session or whatever. I was like, no, I'm gonna, you know, do the
and like
thing,
just
the classic.
Just picking up on what Tom said as well, like we just can't say thank you enough really to Sam and Matt at Le Pub and Ollie and Andy that came and filmed it, and Ollie, who has basically just given up like the last 6 weeks of his life to edit it with me. You know, it's just like, just the kindness is, well, not the kindness of strangers because we know people, but yeah, just for people to do that, just to help us out, you know, because have someone in the pub.
Because Mark, they are not a stranger here. I'm just gonna say.
Oh, he did it.
So on brand.
I'm gonna be that guy. Am I out of the band now? Do you need to get another new drummer, or is that?
Yeah, I'm gonna retract all the nice things we said at the start of this podcast.
A live firing on the pod. That'd be great.
That's it. Yeah, you said you wanted some controversy, Ben. And we got it. We've had a live sacking. I'll add him to the drummer's graveyard on my Gantt chart.
That's fine. At least I wasn't killed in a weird gardening accident. I'm cool with that.
Not yet.
Spontaneous combustion.
The less said about that, the better.
We haven't got a huge amount of time left. We've talked about this video a lot. Where can people see it once it's out?
So it'll be on our YouTube channel. So yeah, we're hoping to kind of coincide with when this pod comes out. So yeah, hopefully people have either watched it or are watching it as soon as they finish listening to this, really. So yeah, early November it'll be, and yeah, our YouTube channel, and then obviously if people want to share it around from there, that would be awesome. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Amazing. You said that you've got kind of 75% of your next EP written. Is that the next thing for Aaronson? Is that what people kind of should look forward to, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, the video for us probably doesn't mark the end of this EP because we want to play it live when we can. But I think that's kind of as far as we can go with that. And yeah, the new stuff is slightly darker, I suppose, sounding. So it's still around the theme. But it's kind of moving. We're leaving the woods.
We are. In the words of Taylor Swift, we will soon be out of the woods. Sort of paraphrase.
Jesus.
So, you know, you asked us how we can bring this back to Taylor, and I think we've done it yet. Are we out of the woods yet? You'll find out. 2020.
Oh man!
And on that note,
he's gonna sue us so hard.
On that note, I think we'll end. Where can people find more about you? You got kind of social media and stuff, or?
Yeah, so we're over everything really. So if you just search Aaronson Central, I think Aaronson's already taken. So yeah, Aaronson Central across everything, and then yeah, Spotify just Aaronson, and You Are Not a Stranger Here. You can't go too far wrong.
Wicked, awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys. Cheers for your time, and good luck with the release of the video. And we'll hopefully see you playing it live in the pub soon.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. And thanks for having us, Ben.
No worries at all.
Thank you very much for having us, Ben. Thank you for
No
having us
worries. Nice one, guys. Speak to you soon.
I love it.
Cheers,
Adieu,
man.
man.
Cheers.
Ta-da.
Yeah.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Where do you think you're going? That's only the halfway point. That was Aaronson. Quick round of applause for them. Thank you. Now, here are Sarah, Jenny and Kate from Art on the Hill.
It's great, it's fun. But this is kind of standard, like Art on the Hill kind of organisation vibes anyway.
Yeah.
So
Professional Art on the Hill mode.
yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Like
definitely, yeah.
accept everything and just go with it. It's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
I like it. Well, it's worked out for you well so far.
Yeah. And for everyone, actually, I guess, really, isn't it? So
Yeah, true. So
Just real life.
introduce your voices, I guess. Tell me who the listeners have got with them today. Who's first?
after
Anyone?
our rants about kids and pets, I love it. All right, I'll go first. My name's Kate Mercer. I am a visual artist based here in Newport, and I am one of the team behind Art on the Hill.
Cool. Welcome, Kate. So that's Kate's voice, everyone. Remember.
It's
Can you hear
me. Remember my voice.
Don't do a funny
Yay!
voice now. That's just going to confuse them.
Okay.
Get it?
Sorry, mate.
Who have we got next?
Okay, so my name's Sarah Goody. I'm an artist living in Newport, and I'm one of the team behind Art on the Hill.
Wicked. Welcome, Sarah. And finally,
I am Jenny Fallon. You can tell my voice because I'm American. I'm here on a spouse visa. My husband's from Newport, and he's very much involved in the music and art scene, which is how I met Kate and Sarah, and a second-year volunteer with Art on the Hill.
awesome. So it hasn't always been the three. Well, there's four of you in total, but the three of you now. So who was there from the beginning? Who kicked this thing off?
So Kate and I started this 4 years ago now, and we get a lot of help and support from people across Art on the Hill. So, for example, the Coach Community and Arts Centre team up there have been really supportive over the years. In terms of administration, logistics, this last year and this year, Jenny, who's with us tonight, and Joe Sutton, who can't be with us this evening,
Right.
have been really instrumental in supporting the project.
Amazing. So sell me on the concept. Imagine that I don't know anything about it, but you think it would be really beneficial for me and I would really like it. Tell me what it is and why I should come and take part.
I think basically it started because we wanted people to share work that they wanted to share, or I need to switch tenses here really. Ben, I want you to share work that you want to share.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry mate, I completely fudged that question. Yeah, we just wanted people to share the work that they wanted to share in spaces they wanted to share it in new and dynamic ways, but maybe also without the maybe the barriers that they felt in accessing some of the spaces that were currently available. Like, you know, some were booked up, some just weren't kind of quite suitable, but also, you know, there's a certain kind of element of confidence there. I think people, you know, don't necessarily visualize themselves in like the bigger spaces. So we were just like, well, show it in your front room, then we'll get people to come and have a look. and that's kind of it really. But it's kind of, it's just showing art in all its ways, shapes or forms on your grounds really. So yeah, I don't know, Sarah, what would you say?
I think to add to what Kate's just said, often when you live in Newport, you feel like you have to go somewhere else to see art or to be part of it. And actually in the community around us and in Newport, as a big city, we know how many creative people live here. And being able to show work on literally your own front doorstep, or someone else's, means that the audience, and that's other people in Newport, get the opportunity to see just how much work is made here, gets to try something new. And the fact that it's over just one weekend brings an energy to it. And also we get people from outside of Newport being really interested in what's happening here. And we had visitors from quite a way away last year. Obviously this year is going to be slightly different. However, I think that ethos of really trying to enable as many people as possible to share the work that they do, not just visual arts, but performance, event-based stuff, and other expertise in the creative sector, it's really important.
Yeah, for sure. And you've mentioned a couple of times that it's people displaying their art literally in their front rooms, and I just wanted to emphasize that that's how it started, and that's how it still is, right? People literally open their homes for people to come in and see their art, right? That's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a hybrid. It's definitely that is that kind of our main component, but actually fair play to the the venues within Newport that have opened their arms and just embraced the concept. We've Le Pub, obviously they've been with us since the beginning. Riverfront, Newport Museum and Art Gallery. Crikey, Kutch, of course, as our kind of the community hub that's right in the centre of largely where the trail area is.
So we've had there's loads of small businesses and also independent business. We really wanted to encourage independent business to use it as an opportunity to showcase themselves. So Hounds the Barber have been with us, Rogue Fox Coffee. Diverse have been amazing, actually. They've done pop-up gigs, and some of the team at Diverse have been instrumental in our design work for maps and posters. So and we use a printer that's down in Pill as well. So we are very sort of pro Newport with the production behind Art on the Hill.
It's so cool how the community comes together to make this thing work, to bring it to life for that weekend. Yeah, it's great to see. Tell me about the.
It's become like a. Oh no, I was just going to say, as well as that, it's become like a proper fixture. I mean, sorry if I'm kind of like bombing your questions for later on, but this year, for example, is going to be very different. But I think independently, all of us were getting messages or emails from people as far back as August, being like, so is there going to be an Art on the Hill this year? Because it'd be really, really good to know. We kind of want the deadline, but also we want something to look forward to. So it's not just the model's been embraced, but actually the kind of the it's become a milestone in the cultural year. I think the cultural calendar for Newport, which is
it's
phenomenal,
in
really.
People's calendars,
100%.
Well, let's go there. How do you answer that question? Is it gonna happen this year? And if so, how? Is it gonna be different, or how's it forming?
Yeah. So, okay. So we've been very much of the philosophy that it needs to happen, and it's just how can we make it safe for everybody and for it still to be recognisable. So we're working on the basis of being in potentially the strictest lockdown conditions. So if we were, because we're at the end of November, it's difficult to tell, where we'll be at that point. So we are encouraging people to show work that can be accessed from the outdoors only. So it might be in windows, it might be on surfaces like fences or walls or stuff. We've had really encouraging support from some of our large partners who are really happy for us to use their window space in town. We're hoping that some of our domestic venues will also join in with maybe front garden space and things like that.
Amazing.
Because what we want to do is to make the work available, but not to put anyone in a position, either a venue or homeowner or a visitor, to put them in a position where they might have any risk of infection. And because it's so difficult to tell what the guidelines will be in 6 weeks' time, if we start at that level, then we know that everything we plan from here on in can be safe, and we can look after our audience and our artists.
Yeah.
Is it a unique opportunity also, because you have a group of artists that you have to think outside the box, which is what most artists do. So it is a unique opportunity to do different kind of art, show art in a different kind of way, and kind of leave it up to the artists. And for us too, we have to kind of think outside the box and think, how can we do it in the safest way possible, but and accessible and fun, and you know.
And I think that's the other thing is like there is this expectation that a lot of the content will be digital this year, and to a certain extent it will be. But we do want to keep there to be some sort of presence amongst the area in terms of the community to physically engage with if possible. But equally, I think it would be very easy of us to forget that actually Newport has an international reputation in terms of the arts, whether we're talking about visual arts, music, we're talking writing, documentary, whichever. And also, like last year, when we kind of casually got just not ambushed is the wrong word, but by John Langford, and he's just like, this is amazing. Do you know what I mean? Like we are, this is a potential, it can be accessed by like a global audience. So, let's think of a way that we can make that happen and facilitate that as well, So
I love that you guys are trying to make it as or keep it as physical as possible as well, trying to get, I was going to say actual art, obviously digital art is actual art as well, but art in physical spaces for people to actually go out and still make it an event on the weekend rather than just 100% digital. Because coming from more of a musical background, like live music at the moment is just all digital. It's streamed, it's kind of recorded, and it's just not the same for me. Like I know that people are trying to make it work, but it's just not the same. So I think
it's not you. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but when you go to see a live show, it touches like other senses. You know what I mean? It's like all the senses then, and that's what moves you the most when you get to see a live performance. You literally just feel the music in your bones, and it's the same with art too. You need that personal experience. So it will be tricky doing it digitally. This word is so hard to say, but
hey, you smashed it. No worries.
Smashed,
done.
Third time's charm. But that and engaging with people online, I've found it very difficult during lockdown to actually sit in front of the screen and do things like interactively on the screen. It isn't the same, but I think if we try our hardest, it will be, and do a bit of both.
I mean, just in touching gently on health and well-being. We know that there are huge benefits for people to engage with the arts, either the participation of it and of creating it, or actually in the experience of it, exactly like Jenny's saying. So it's something we're all passionate about and with, and I don't know, Sarah, you can probably say far more and far more eloquently than I'm stuttering on about here. But it's important, and it's a really important feature of art.
I think what Kate's alluding to there is that I have a part-time job where I'm the arts development manager for Grant Arts in Health and the United Bevan Health Board. So the majority of work I do in that context is looking at using creativity within a health context, and not just a physical health context, but a mental health context as well.
Okay.
So various elements. I mean, the whole of Art on the Hill can be seen as an arts, health and wellbeing project if you want to look at it in a particular way. I think giving people creative goals to make work and to produce and to share work together is amazing. But also just the simple happiness of going for a walk around Newport Centre and looking out for artworks that might be hiding in windows. And one of the things that is one of our sort of physical experiences of the weekend is having a map trail, which we will maintain this year. It'll be slightly different, but we encourage people to go to as many different venues as possible and collect stamps, and then they can be entered into a prize draw. We can't do the stamping thing this year because it's a physical touch thing, but we'll find another way for people to record their experiences and enjoy exploring maybe very small parts of Newport that they've never been in before. So there's lots of different ways which we really hope people will get something from it.
That's great. I feel like it's almost stepped up a level in importance recently with the whole campaign, I guess you could say, by the government, with the whole retrain from the arts, the whole kind of taking importance away from the arts industry. I bet you guys are pissed to say the absolute least about that.
I have lots to say on the matter, but none of it recordable or shareable online.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, isn't it? Like,
it deserves.
Giant explicit disclaimer at the front of that episode.
Yeah.
It deserves its own, though, for sure.
Yeah.
We're recording this podcast in the third week of October.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in the arts are facing a situation where they still may not be able to return to their livelihoods for a really long time to come.
Mm-hmm.
There's redundancies being announced in all sorts of sectors, and the change between support schemes and funding available for businesses is changing at the moment, and may mean that some businesses, either arts or hospitality businesses, may not be able to continue. So it's a really challenging time for anyone who's self-employed or has a portfolio of jobs. Some people have loads of different jobs. And for artists, especially musicians and live performers, the opportunity for those guys to be able to return to what they'd recognise as their normal practice, there isn't. It's a long road ahead. So hopefully, having something like a Cart on the Hill happen in a few weeks' time in Newport will go a small way to giving people something to be excited about. And we hope when we get there that people will be able to enjoy it.
I think that's the other thing about Art on the Hill. All the way along, we've only ever encouraged people to commit themselves in ways that they felt able to. Do you know what I mean? And very much in that sense, it's sustainable in that way. If you have the time, great, come get involved, come play. But if you haven't, then no worries about it. We just want to support everyone who wants to kind of share and express themselves. And it's a celebration of what we're doing creatively. That's always been the focus for us, really. But yeah, this year is. It's challenging for lots of people, and it's incredibly tough, and yeah, I don't know, we'll see what happens. That's all we can do. And just
fingers crossed and wait. I know. Well,
it's not so much like fingers crossed and waiting. I mean, it's definitely fingers crossed.
That's an element of it.
Yeah, but I just, like Jen was saying, it's like this is such an amazing opportunity. It is and it isn't. It's rubbish, but it's also an opportunity where we can think differently and play and experiment and see what works and what doesn't work. And that's also been, this kind of experiment has always been part of our ethos and our approach to Art on the Hill. Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. But we try not to be so prescriptive to rule anything out. But equally, this year, everyone's learning so much in such a short period of time that next year will be different again. But at least there'll be a foundation this year where we can collectively, as a industry, as creatives and professionals, just kind of be like, right, okay, so this is what we learned last year, this is how we develop, this is how we move on, this is how we feedback, and this is what we need to come back stronger, I feel.
Yeah. But you're going to say something, Sarah?
Oh, probably. I think I was just thinking when I was listening to Kate talk then, I'm also volunteer for Mandy Festival, which is on the east side of Newport, and usually has a one-day event in July with some surrounding events, but it's very much about a parade and a festival field and performance and tents, and obviously we couldn't do that this year.
Yeah.
So we looked at how we could reach out to the community that we most wanted to serve in different ways, and some of the learning from that I think I'm taking into looking at Art on the Hill this year. So we're looking at realizing that not everyone has access digitally to anything, you know. Some people don't have smartphones, some people don't have access to the internet that's reliable, some people don't have Wi-Fi, and that might be by choice or circumstance. So we can't assume that everyone's got the same access to digital platforms. Oh, you still there, Ben?
Yeah, still here. Yeah.
Sorry, I had a link there saying it was closing. So some people don't have access to digital platforms. However, we have ways of doing safe activities that people can do in the home. So like developing a kit so everyone can make something to put in the window, for example, for the weekend. And looking at how we can make sure those kits are available and accessible to people. So that's something that we'll be launching in the next couple of weeks with our event-based performers who really want to do something. We're looking at how we can schedule something that's available digitally in a safe way, but will also be fun to watch and won't just feel like you're staring at your screen for hours on end. So it's a big learning journey on this one again.
Yeah.
But people have been working, finding workarounds and looking at how it's worked for other similar type events. It's taking best practice and cracking on with it.
It's a great way of looking at it. Like you were saying before, artists and performers are really kind of used to working within limitations and within barriers and kind of making the best of what they have. And this is just another one of those, I guess, another limitation, another barrier for us to kind of work through and work around.
Yeah, totally. Challenges. Some of the best stuff come out of the biggest challenges you have in your life.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that's I definitely agree with you on that. However, I think there is a point at the moment at which that artists would argue that they shouldn't have to be challenged so much all the time just to be able to work. So
yeah, like kind of pragmatically or kind of like subjectively, objectively, that's the one I mean. Objectively, like like it, well, it depends what I'm going to say, sorry. Objectively, spot on, like we're used to challenges and we can adapt, but subjectively it just completely doesn't take into the emotional roller coaster that everyone, including ourselves, are experiencing right now. It's it doesn't even cover an inch of that. So
I guess there's a big difference between kind of making art from these limitations and barriers and then having extra unnecessary, almost existential kind of problems and stuff thrown at you on top of that. Like that's just a step too far.
It is really challenging, and the evening that we're recording this in Newport, we've been in a local lockdown for 3 weeks. Is that right, girls?
Same in Caerphilly.
They're all blending into one now, aren't they?
You're in Caerphilly, so you've been there for 4 weeks yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This is an ongoing process, and it feels different to last time. It's difficult to articulate it, but for everybody who's in that situation, and when this is aired, we may be in a better or worse position. And unfortunately, we are learning to work with it both in our sort of private and our domestic and our professional lives. But it is a big strain. It's a big strain on everyone. So I miss. We were lucky enough to be included in the Women of Newport photographs taken last year. Kate and myself were and we were asked to give ourselves a venue to have our pictures taken. And we chose my kitchen table because it was representative of where Art on the Hill comes from. It's very much clear the table, we've got work to do. And I really miss being able to get with the girls around the table and a cup of tea and some paper and draw pictures and work out what happens next. That's what I'm missing at the moment.
Yeah, little things that you wouldn't have even considered as hugely important before. Just those are the things that stand out that you miss. I know. Yeah. Well, anyway, enough of these dark topics. We haven't got a huge amount of time left, and I don't want to end an episode on such a downer. I've done that before. I don't want to do that again.
No way! Okay. Come on, unicorns!
Tell me about what you would consider as your greatest success so far as Art on the Hill. Like, if you could kind of distill the spirit of Art on the Hill down to a single moment, what would it be? Does something stand out? Something come to mind? And it's not necessarily like a time where like 200, 300 people came to see something, like something that stood out to you as being a great success.
I think one of the things that I've done over all of the years is that you won't be able to find Kate or myself anywhere over the weekend. You'll be able to find us everywhere because we are going to each venue, making sure everything's okay, checking in, taking photos, seeing what's happening. And the fact you just do not stop moving from about Thursday night to Monday morning because there's so much to see and so many people to say hi to, and just to make sure that people are aware of the art that's going on and that we're getting it out on social media. I think for me that's one of the best things about Art on the Hill for me, is that shows that it's happened, that it's happening, that something's going on. And the fact that sometimes we can't get to everything.
Yeah, there's just so much.
Which is brilliant. So that would be my reflection.
That's great. Kate, Jenny?
I have no, Jen, you go first.
No, sorry, I had to mute my my microphone because you could hear Barry and Mila reading books upstairs.
That's amazing. That's great.
I mean, I last year I didn't actually get to go. I had to go back to the US for the weekend, so it was a big bummer for me.
Nightmare.
That I got to help out up until, and up until the weekend really, and just kind of send my husband in there to help, distribute things. But for me, it was doing things, sending out MailChimp. That's my thing.
Yeah.
It was like, what's MailChimp? So I figured that out. I mean, it was, little obstacles for me, and of course this year, excited to be a part of it again.
Yeah.
And then, we have COVID-19. So
that little spanner in the works.
That little thing that's happening again. So
Jen's been really, really modest. Like she's done amazing things up to, before, and during Out on the Hill last year and this year. And fair play. Just again, because of the nature of it, we've got a group chat that goes, and so Sarah, myself, Jen and Joe will have this chat, and then Jen's just like, okay, leave it with me, and she'll just do it, and you're like, okay. Like, and in the sense of again, Jen's a amazing problem solver and force of energy, so she's doing herself down at that point. I think
too modest.
Sorry. I'm here all night. Yeah, too modest, to a fault.
Too modest.
As we all are. For me, really quickly, so some of my artwork has been installed on one of the garden walls for the last 2 years, actually, at the top of Cairo Road, where Cairo Road meets Riska Road in Stowhill.
Amazing.
Anyway, so to make part of that artwork, I mean, that was quite a strange experience in itself. But the people who live in that house are legends, absolutely, and good friends. But actually, the kind of the takeaway moment for me was making that artwork. I knocked on my next door neighbour's door and asked if I could borrow one of her daughter's baby dolls. Anyway, and just to make the picture. Anyway, so yeah, exactly like Sarah was saying, we were just running around all weekend. I didn't see anyone other than stuck to my phone, and then at the end of it, my neighbour sent me a picture of her little girl with the baby doll having her picture next to my artwork, in the sense of this is me identifying with this piece of artwork, but also, you know, it's kind of like, this is possible, this is what I do, this is my experience of it. So there's that kind of direct connection, but also the fact that suddenly it was like, actually this is a potential for people to again identify, connect and engage with work in unexpected spaces, in unexpected ways, and it just kind of opens up the possibilities of what art is, what working in art and, you know, performing, and which, you know, there are so many aspects to creative industries. That was the golden nugget moment for me. So
that's amazing.
I've still got that photo on my phone actually as well. Have I showed it to you guys?
Yeah, send it and we'll check it on the podcast socials.
Oh, I did it. I'll have to ask the mum if that's okay. But I'll show you guys. That's it. Yeah. That's it. But yeah, that was amazing. And as well, she had a bear. She's the children are one of the local primary school students there, and their school had like a little bear, you know, when you were like kids and you got sent home with like, I don't know, like if you had like the school pet for the weekend and you had to write it up in a journey or in a thing. Yeah. So she got sent home with the class bear. Actually, as part of the trail, she took again, her mum took the photos, but yeah, all the different places that she went to along the trail, she had a photo diary with the little bear that went to school and told everyone about it. And it was just like, yeah, totally, just so cute.
The future, man. I mean, literally and figuratively. Yeah,
so lush.
That's cute.
So lush. It's so cute. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think we'll wrap things up. I don't want to take all of your evenings. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time to talk about On the Hill. It sounds amazing. I'm really glad that like it's still happening this year, despite all the unexpected obstacles along the way. Tell people where...
We should have asked you a question. What are you going to do for Art on the Hill?
You should have. I'm going to do an artsy Le Pod.
Artsy Le Pod. That counts, actually. That'll do.
Oh, Ben, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's on record now, isn't it? I'm gonna...
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You could narrate Art on the Hill on your podcast. Narrate everything that's going on.
I could.
I've got a great voice for it. And now?
No, it's all the microphone. You just get a good microphone.
I know, it's
and it makes
true.
you sound
Good
good.
microphone.
Rubbish. Whatever. That's done.
But anyway, before we go, tell us about where people can find more about you. Is there websites? Is there social media stuff? Where can people find out more about Art on the Hill?
Everywhere. Yeah, we're on social media.
Okay.
If you search for Art on the Hill on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, we're there. We have a blog as well, which is kelfaribryn mp20.home.blog, I think.
We'll link it.
Just Google
anyway.
Art on the Hill Newport.
Art on the Hill Newport. That's the main Google.
Just Google that. Yeah, Art on the Hill Newport, because I think there is another Art on the Hill.
Oh, yeah, there's one over in Bristol. Yeah,
Art on the Hill.
So Newport.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's important.
Newport.
Yeah.
Perfect. We will shout that out and put it in the episode description, and hopefully we'll get some traffic your way.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, guys.
It should be important to say sign-ups are closed, so you can't register anymore, but you can totally attend and join us that way.
Yeah, so come and take part as an attendee, and then hopefully you can take part as an artist next year. Yeah?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Done.
Sick.
Seamless.
Good luck with the rest of the planning, And yeah, I'll hopefully see you there if I'm allowed out of Caerphilly.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh God.
If not, you've got to do the digital narration online.
Yeah.
I'll just watch it. You can just carry me around on one of your phones or whatever.
Yeah, we'll see you again on Zoom.
Yeah. It'll be done.
Nice
All right,
one.
then. Thanks,
All right.
Ben.
Cheers,
Nice
guys.
one.
That's one, Ben.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.